Hey man, I'm Chris with Phone Cats, and here is another look at the Card Forge and Card Wars for Adventure Time. This vid's sponsored by Fright Fight on iOS, Smash Bros. Alternative. It's on mobile, iPhone and Android. I'm playing it a lot. You'll see me on the leaderboards. I'm gonna beat you with that monkey doing that chain clap punch. You know they're gonna nerf it. Anyways, this is the Card Wars, Card Forge. This is a little spoilery. I'm at level 70 right now, playing BMO. Just ruined the game for you. And we're going to take a look at some of these cards, so if you don't want to know the future of this game, then go away. Here we go, Moma Spider, 4 mana for a 19/19. For every 2 cards in your discard pile, deal 4 damage to a creature in the opposing lane. So man, if you hit a late game Moma Spider and play this, and if you've been playing a good long game and you have like, let's say you got 6 cards in your graveyard, that's pretty like common and realistic. Especially against some of these level 70 decks, dude. Every card in their deck is so strong. So when your graveyard's all lit up and let's say you have 6 cards in it, God, that's a lot of damage. You hit something for 12. It does cost 3 mana and it is kind of situational, but I don't know. I got a swamp deck, or a corn swamp deck, half and half, so that card's on my mind. I'm not even going to talk about the recipes to build these cards. They're all impossible, dude. I even spent a couple gems bumping up my inventory, but these card forges are like unattainable to me. Here's a Wodic Marauder. It's 4 mana for a 22/12, and you can floop them to bounce a building back to your opponent's hand. That'll be cool when we're playing like multiplayer versus real people. And even the computer, who knows, they might drop that building every turn. And maybe it'll be worth it for you to spend 1 mana every turn to have them have to spend 3 to recast the same card, and then they're only down to 2 mana. If the computer replays the building every time, then those would be worth running. And I feel like a lot of the time you do need to kind of trick the computer, or like I'll win by the skin of my teeth because they'll have a misplay. Sand Sphinx is alright. I would honestly say don't run any buildings. Like, creatures are the name of the game in this lane-based card game. I don't even like spells. But this Sand Sphinx is probably the one that you can play with just to see. It only costs 1 mana. That's the cool thing about it. And creatures in this lane take 5 less damage when attacked. So this won't do anything against spells. But it will prevent 5 damage, which is cool. So it's way better than just giving the creature +5 defense. Do you know what I mean? Because this prevents 5 damage every turn that it's attacked. So it's basically healing it for 5, if you want to look at it like that. Here's another butt spell. What do we got? Banana butt. Destroy one of your creatures and draw 1 card. Really bad to me. I mean, if there were instants and you could like chump block something and then play banana butt, that'd be cool. But this game doesn't have that kind of depth. Here's a sand mummy. What is this one? Fummy. I've been up against this a lot. 4 mana for a 10/24, and you can floop him. This creature and adjacent creatures gain +6 defense. Okay, so I recently had like an epiphany. Is it possible to build either a sandy deck or a nice plains deck, the heart creatures, and have the angle of just milling your opponent out? Because once they run out of cards, you start to take like 10 damage a turn. I think I've taken anywhere between like 12, like a max of 12 and maybe even more. But keep that in mind, like that might be the name of the game, of just running these super fat decks and then just making your opponent run out of cards. Doesn't sound very enjoyable, but it sounds like pleasant in making your human opponent suffer, but I wouldn't want to do that against a computer by any means. Dragonfoot. These are pretty huge, and they're huge on the lane when they drop. 4 mana for a 5/32, so it's basically this huge wall, and you can floop it for 3 to light up an opponent's building. It's only the one directly across from it, so really situational, and I don't even know. Most people probably aren't going to run buildings because they're so mediocre. Farmer Tom's 4 mana for a 12/21. Choose one of your creatures and heal it 6 points for each of your buildings. So I don't know if you're playing this heart building deck. Ideally, if you had 4 buildings out, which sounds kind of crazy, but you'd be healing one of your creatures for 24. And that's enough to stop something on the opposing side. I finally got access to one of these. This is something that I got from an algebraic chest, and this is the backbone of my deck. I'm basically sprinting through my deck, drawing cards, trying to find my Dark Angel, and then recur it with Dr. Donut. 4 mana for a 20/15, and you can floop it for 3 to deal 5 damage to all of your opponent creatures. 5 across the board, and you have that little hammer animation that lights them all up. Really strong. That's the card that allowed me to blitz to where I am right now, right around level 70. But now I'm up against creatures that are like over 20/20s. So doing 5 damage to them is really nickel and dime. And normally that angel dies in 1 hit anyways now. Corndogs is one that I'm actually going to show you the requirements for, because everyone starts out with a corn deck. And this is like one of the more alpha creatures. Like a 4-star creature is really solid. 4 mana for a 17/19, and this creature and adjacent creatures gain +5 attack. And that is a floop for 3. So that's most of your mana for that turn. But +5, +5, +5. That's a 15 damage spread, and that's pretty powerful for 3 mana. Alright, so that card's all cool, like 17/19 for 4 mana, but it's nearly unobtainable. Let's keep going through the card forge. I don't want to show you the recipe, it's so frustrating. That card's so hard to make. Okay, blue decks can play this Temporal Wisp. 3 mana for a 9/17, and then you can floop it. Opponent creature cannot attack during the next turn. So, I don't know, that seems kind of like a bad return on the investment. You don't want to be spending 2 mana every turn just to lock up one of your dude's creatures. But if it'll save the day or save the game, then it's worthy. And 9 attack, that's not too bad for 3. I hate Comfy Cave. I have 2 of these. They're in my deck right now, and that's why I'm so, like, hating it. It's cost me games. I would much rather top deck a creature than one of these, but I still keep trying them out. 2 mana. Creatures in this lane heal 1 damage for each creature you control at the start of your turn. So, best case scenario, this is healing you for 4 at the beginning of your turns. But every time it's your opponent's turn or the computer's turn, they're attacking you. And they're killing like 2 or 3 of your dudes. So this thing's only healing for 1 or 2. It's not good. I mean, it might be good if you're up against these Peasley creatures and it's early game in the map. But once you're hitting level 70, everything's so huge, like, it's not going to do anything. Oh, I want this island for my deck so bad. It's a red island, 3 mana for a 7/21. Super defensive. I was going to say, would this guy be good with Comfy Cave? But I shouldn't even think of that thought. You can floop him for 3, really good ability. Deals 4 damage to creatures in the opposing lane and its adjacent creatures. This thing is like a baby Death Angel, or Dark Angel. 3 mana, 7/21, and it does the 3 damage thing. So you want to play this guy in one of the middle 2 lanes so that he actually hits adjacents. Patchy the Pumpkin. I already got one of these from an algebraic chest, and it's pretty strong. The 22 attack means you basically play him in any corn lane, and he'll kill whatever in the opposing lane. Because 22 attack is really high, but of course his floop ability is mediocre. It lowers the attack of the opposing creature by 5. But with only 5 defense, anything your opponent's going to play is going to be able to kill this dude in 1 hit. And I don't know. If you're playing Dr. Donut as your hero, the Graveyard Recursion is nice, because he'll basically drop, kill whatever is in the opposing lane, and then your opponent is obligated to either drop something in that lane to chump block him every turn, or just to kill him since he only has 5 toughness. But with Dr. Donut and making that threat come back every 3 turns, you'll eventually wear him out. Alright, for all you weirdo heart deck, nice plains people, here's a cow, 3 mana for a 4/26. Heal all your creatures for 5 points. For 3 mana, I don't even know, man. I'm not afraid of that stall deck though. Deck though. I'll play the Millstone deck and just make my opponent run out of cards. That sounds super frustrating to be up against. Sand Pyramid. I mean, I was gonna skip it, but whatever. 1 mana, creature in this lane heals 5 damage whenever it destroys a creature. Seems okay. You already need to have battlefield advantage so that you're killing creatures in the opposing lane, and this creature had to have taken damage so it can even be healed. And you have to hit this card. Way too situational. the Slugger Man. People are getting these in algebraic chests. I'm so jealous. 3 mana for a 15/15, and you can lower the defense of adjacent creatures on your side by 2 and increase their attack by 4. So in Magic terms, this is like a mini Bloodlust, to where you make your creatures stronger but weaker in terms of defense. But since you're attacking and only you're dealing damage, the way this game is in lane-based card games, a lot of the times you'll just knock out their side of the board. Pretty cool. I mean, I know that you can kill your creatures with this, so keep in mind if your guy already has 2 defense, it's not a good time. You'll have a bad time. Pretty high spell cost. Okay, we were talking about the Cornetar earlier and how crazy hard and why it makes me rage that I'll never have a Cornetar. This is one of the ingredients. It's an Ice Paladin. Really mediocre, it's a rainbow. All these rainbow cards are pretty lame and toned down because any color deck can play them. Let's see. So he takes a Husker Knight, which is like a checkpoint for the Corn deck. 4 Freezy Jays, which is ridiculous. And then 3 of these Detective Bobbies, which you can get on a certain level. It's really frustrating, man. I already spent a couple gems to bump up my inventory a little bit, and I've kind of played all the easy levels to get all the easy gems. And with there being like, I don't even know, is it 4 or 5 different land types? It's so hard to make cards in this game. But whatever, we'll keep rolling. I'm just trying to keep this about forged cards, because if you're starting out on this game, it's so exciting to see a new card. So I hope that like people are enjoying these. Here's a Sandfoot, 3 mana for a 10/17. It's the weird palm tree deck, so you're playing that defensive angle. I guess most people are just splashing in red and splashing in sand to keep their creatures alive. You can flip them for 3 and gain +4 defense for each of your creatures, so that's not bad. If you got 4 guys in play, that's 16 heals. Alright, anybody running a swamp deck, including me, this Green Mermaid is worthy of running. You do get the Green Merman if you're kind of doing the swamp thing. I feel like this is the equivalent of the Husker Knight in this deck. And then you can bump it up to this Green Mermaid, so it gets like gender transformation through the water. And instead of the Green Merman deals damage based on how many buildings your opponent has. This Green Mermaid's the opposite. It deals 3 damage for each of your buildings to the creature in the opposing lane. So if you're running a building deck, you're crazy, but you might as well play these Green Mermaids to try to capitalize on it. The cool thing, it's only 1 mana to floop, and let's say you got 3 buildings out, and that's kind of like a best. Obviously, it's not the best case scenario, but getting 3 buildings out is pretty solid. Like if you're still maintaining board control, and you have 3 buildings, you're sitting pretty. And then you can just pay 1 to deal 12 damage to the opposing creature. I don't know, maybe I need to build a building deck. Okay, this Psionic Architect is flirting with infinite combos. Not infinite, but you can cast the same spell every turn. It's 3 mana for a 17/8, so your opponent's going to try to deal with this thing and kill it before you can start going crazy on him. Because you can floop this guy for 2 and bounce a spell from your graveyard to your hand. So now this is kind of crazy. Like, there's going to be, when this game gets live multiplayer, there's going to be people playing blue decks, and every turn they're going to be recasting the same spell that's under 3 mana. I don't know what spell it's going to be, but eventually someone's going to find like the game-breaking spell that if you can just cast it every turn, like your opponent's going to rage quit. Okay, here's a Wall of Sand, and I like the Wall of Corn or the Wall of Ears better, but I just play Corn deck, so that's probably why. 3 mana for a 0/26, floop it, and adjacent creatures get +4 defense. Sand decks and their weird defense. And of course you want to play that guy in one of the middle lanes so that you get benefits on both sides. Oh, I got one of these Wall of Bones or Palace of Bones in an algebraic chest. It was really upsetting. I don't like buildings. 3 mana, deal 2 damage to the opposing creature whenever a new creature is placed on this lane. So you play this, and then let's say you have 3 creatures in your hand. If they're all 1 mana drops for some reason, you can just keep playing creatures on that same lane and then lighting up the opposing lane for 2. I think there's something akin to this that hits your opponent's life. And that's the version that I want, to where you're dealing direct damage. This one's pretty lame, especially since it's only 2 damage, so I really hope this is a stepping stone to some higher tier cards. Falling Star, you need 3 of these for something that I like. I don't even know what it is, but these are hard to make on their own right. It's 1 mana, Falling Star, opponent gets 2 less magic points, 2 less magic points next turn. And I don't think that this is the one that you would want to go infinite on. Like, this wouldn't be the best scenario. This card's hard to make. It cost a Permidia, which, I don't know, was something that I was able to craft, and it was hard. It took like all my good stuff. Card Forge is kind of weird because you do lose the ingredients, and things do have multiple paths. Like, there's multiple things that will take an Ice Paladin. So when you finally get your Ice Paladin, you got to be really picky. Earl. I got one of these in Algebraic Chest. I wish I didn't. 3 mana for a 10/5. You can flip him for 1, and adjacent creatures get +3 attack. I'm playing a Corn deck, so he kind of fits the theme, but since it's Rainbow, if he was just straight Corn costs, it would be a better card. Do you get it? And I don't know, maybe I would splash it in if I was running a deck that wasn't Corn, so you get some of those elements in, but I don't know. I'm playing with him just because he's Rainbow and he gives me a little bit of leeway and I can play him on both lanes. It's kind of my same attitude with Freezy J. Like, he's just very mediocre, but necessary, just for like filler. Another Rainbow, Bigfoot. There's some better feet. There's a lot of feet in this deck. Dragonfoot. 3 mana for a 7/8 and deal 4 damage to the opposing creature and its adjacent creatures. So that's pretty nice. It's like the toned down black card, but Rainbow version. With 8 defense, so it's going to die pretty quick. Alright, these are a thing that you're going to need for spells in the Card Forge. These Dark Portals are necessary for a lot of recipes. You really even wouldn't want to play it. Choose an opposing building and move it to an empty lane. I don't even know if you can take it from your opponent's side to your side. Even if you could, I probably wouldn't play with this. But if it's only moving it from like one lane to your opponent's other lane, I don't know. The verbiage on it makes it seem like you can cast it and move it to your side if it's an empty lane, but I don't know. Someone post in the comments because I don't even know what the deal with that one is. Okay. I have one of these. No, I don't. I have a Corn Parthenon, which I don't even have in here. Whatever. Corn Castle. I want one of these too. It's 2 mana. This is one of the buildings worth running, y'all. Like, it's the opposite of the Cave of Solitude. 2 mana. Creatures in this lane get +2 attack for each of your creatures on the field. So it's your turn. You're in control. Your opponent can't do anything. You just fill up the board, and then once you have 4 creatures, whatever is in this lane gets +8 attack. For only 2 mana, that's pretty legit. It's like the opposite of Cave of Solitude, which I got in the Algebraic Chest. Man, I feel like I get bad drops, and it's so hard to get gems. I don't know how much I can reiterate that. Alright, you're going to see these Wall of Ears a lot when you're blitzing through the campaign. 2 mana for a 0/18. Sometimes you're not even going to want to play anything to deal with this because it's so daunting. And it has this tricky ability where it can deal 2 damage to itself and increase its attack by 2. So it goes to a 2/16, 4/14, 6/12. But if each turn you're attacking it, you'll start to whittle it down so it won't get out of control. But they'll play it, it'll seem like nothing, and then you'll be surprised that it's a threat or that it's popping you for like 10 a turn out of nowhere. In a best case scenario, what could it get up to? A 16/2? That's pretty crazy. Too bad that would take 8 turns. Corndogs. These are definitely on the checklist. Oh, and Corndog takes Cool Dog. What a relevant recipe. To make a corn dog, you need a cool dog and a corn ball. And a corn scepter. This game is so funky. I really wish they managed the heart system better, because this game is so close to being perfect. For what it's worth, they did say, the devs of it, I think it's Kung Fu Factory, did an interview, and they are going to be tweaking the heart system. So there is something in the pipes, as well as multiplayer, but I've been talking about that a lot. Corndog, 2 mana for a 9/11. Adjacent creatures gain +4 attack. What does this guy take? Cool Dogs and Cornballs? And right now I'm trying to compare this to my Corn Husker, which is 1 mana for that 6/3, and you can flip them for 3, and pump up your guys by like 3. So this is definitely the next level of that, but it's not in the ingredients. We might be reaching the end. I feel like I was touching base on that Peach Genie last vid, but maybe not. Snake Mint, 2 mana for a 9/9, deal 2 damage to the creature in the opposing lane and heal this guy for 4. Where did I get to last time? Did I have Archer Dan's? Yeah, we may have already touched base on these, but this vid's been long anyway. This has been the Card Forge and Card Wars. It's so hard to make these. Like, I'm scrolling through right now, and I can make nothing. Like, none of the cards that I've covered I can create. Wow, I can create some, like level 1 creatures. Like, the worst stuff in the game. 1 mana for a 1/4, and heal adjacent creatures 2 points. Super weak. Alright, that's it for this vid. I love Card Wars. I just wish that it was better. The heart system is a rager. I still can't play the level that I'm on, and I've been like waiting for 2 hours. Pretty crazy. That's it for this vid. Thanks for watching. Bone Cats.